Hello friends, James Corbett here, CorbettReports.com. Let's talk about censorship today. What does that word mean to you, censorship? Because I have a working theory that what we mean by that word in the 21st century is not what we thought of it as in the 20th century. Because most people, when they think of censorship, will think of government agents passing some sort of law that they can come and stop you, physically prevent you from saying this, or they can arrest you if you write that, or something along those lines. Censoring a specific thing and stopping people from saying it or doing it or publishing it. But I don't think that's what censorship means increasingly in this age of online communication. Because I think we're dealing with a different kettle of fish, if you will. And I think of this specifically because in my recent Decade of Dominance episode of the podcast, where I was getting people to tell me about how they found the website and found my work, I was surprised, although I probably shouldn't have been, but I was surprised how many people discovered my work by finding a related video in YouTube. And they click on the related video and they see a Corbett Report video and they think that's interesting and they start watching more and more. Now that's an interesting phenomenon, and that is how apparently a lot of people first discovered my work. And it does make sense, and it shouldn't be surprising, but it is precisely because that is obviously something that the powers that shouldn't be increasingly do not want to have happen. And they are, as we speak, and will continue to, adjust their algorithms to make sure that people do not randomly happen upon work like this, unless it's in a filter bubble where people are very specifically searching for this type of information. Then maybe they'll allow a little bit of it just to make sure that people don't feel like they're being censored. But for the average normie who's looking at a given issue, whatever that may be, they're going to be directed increasingly, without them even knowing it, toward information that is on the acceptable mainstream side and away from the alternative media. That's obvious, I think. That's evident. And I experienced that in my own experience when, for example, over the past several years, I've often marveled or come away thinking, well, that's interesting. When I search for a very specific piece of information on any search engine, basically, I have marveled at how many times, searching for a specific piece of information, I've come across my own work. Sometimes it's the first result on the search results page, because I'd talked about it in the past. And I think, oh, that's interesting. I've noticed how infrequently that is occurring now, to the point where even when I am searching for a very specific thing that I've talked about in the past, sometimes even with a specific title of a video or an article or an interview or something that I've done in the past, it won't appear in the first page of search results, or even the second page. You have to scroll through page after page after page before you come across a site like the Corbett Report, because of course we know the Googles and Facebooks and whatever, all of the different platforms, search engines, social media sites, all of these are tailoring and tinkering with their algorithms to make sure that sites like the Corbett Report get shoved further and further down, and the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Time Magazine, whatever, gets pushed up to the top of the search results. Of course that's what they want. Of course that's what they're working on. That, I believe, is more along the lines of 21st century censorship. And the analog might be, of course, the mother of all 21st century police state analogs, Winston Smith, sitting there in the Ministry of Truth, putting information down the memory hole. In fact, it's not even so blatant as that, because often this information is still exists. It's still physically there. You can still physically connect to it, but they just make sure that you can't find it in the first place. It's an interesting conundrum, and there are different ways that we should be approaching this, one of which I have talked about in the past in videos like the social media exodus has begun, here's where people are going, the creation of alternative platforms that will not do these kind of algorithmic censorship behind the scenes so you don't even know what's happening shenanigans. And we've talked about various platforms in the past and the alternatives that are popping up, and hopefully you're watching this video on BitChute rather than on YouTube. But I know that most people aren't. Most people are set in their ways and are not going to change them very easily. So, I think that brings up another aspect of this, which is the old adage for people who I'm sure are in the dabble in precious metals have heard this before. If you don't physically hold it in your hand, you don't own it. In the same way, if you don't physically hold the gold or silver or whatever in your hand, you don't physically have the possession of it, then you don't really own it. As people who have invested in various gold-backed accounts, quote-unquote, and things like that in the past may have found out when suddenly they found they didn't have that precious metal they thought they had. So, in the same way, I think in this age of online digital information, if you don't physically possess that information, you don't really have it, and you don't know that you have access to it and will continue to have access to it in the future, which is exactly why, of course, I created the Data DVD series. For people who don't know, these are data DVDs. These are not DVDs you stick in your video DVD drive. These are DVDs that you stick in your computer, and all they are the physical raw files, the MP3s, the MP4s, the HTMLs of every single podcast episode, every interview, every video, every article that I've done on the website. And each disc is of a different year. For example, this is the 2010 Data DVD. It's in fact 2 DVDs here in this 2-disc set. It's something like 15 gigabytes of information, literally hundreds of podcast episodes, interviews, articles, videos, all available on these various DVDs. And you'll note that they have been recently redesigned with spiffy new covers. They look absolutely phenomenal. That's by Mike Krentz of MikeKrentz.com. If you like these new designs, please do leave Mike a note to let him know. He does some incredible work. But that's the spirit, that's the idea behind these DVDs, is that I want people to have physical access to them. And of course, all of these MP3, MP4, HTML files are available for free download on the website as it is, so you don't have to buy a DVD, you don't have to do anything, just go to the website and download to your heart's content. But if you want that archive, the treasure trove of every single article, video, interview from a given year, the DVD is the easiest way, I think, to do it. And of course, you can help support the website if you get one of these DVDs while you're at it. The DVDs for each year, the set for each year costs $50. That's including shipping and handling anywhere in the world. And each set includes literally hundreds of hours of programming. So it's exceptionally important that we have physical access to this, which is why I always recommend, whenever you find anything online, Corbett Report or otherwise, that you think is valuable, download it, save it, store it to an external hard drive so you physically have access to it in the future, because you don't know how that's going to be delisted, delinked, or otherwise tampered with in the future in the 21st century form of censorship. Now, let me be clear. These data DVDs, if you are a casual viewer of the Corbett Report, if you dabble in and out, if you like a thing here or there, these are not for you. You can go and download the files from my website individually, that's fine. But this is for people who really, really understand the importance of this information, really care about the Corbett Report website and the work that I'm doing. For you, this is I think, a handy archive, and as I say, it helps support the work while you're at it. So you can find out more information about these at corbettreport.com/data-DVD. And I am interested to hear your own experiences with this 21st century censorship. How do you see this playing out? I don't think that the internet shutdown, that they're going to turn everything off and they're going to start shutting down websites per se. I don't think that is in the cards, because I think it's to the powers that shouldn't be's ultimate benefit to have the internet and have it functioning. But of course they want the controlled, directed internet, where people don't even know the information that is being occluded from them. They're going to be directed this way or that without them even knowing it, just through the algorithms that they put through in these search engines and other things. So if you have experiences with that form of 21st century censorship, I'd be interested to hear about it, and also your thoughts on how we ultimately combat that. So, with those heady thoughts in mind, that's the thought for the day. I am James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. Thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you again very soon.
The Corbett Report is brought to you by the Data DVD series. From 2007 to 2016, each set of Data DVDs contains every podcast, every article, every video, and every interview from that year of the website. Celebrate the Corbett Report's decade of alternative media dominance by owning it all, only on these Data DVDs. For more information, please go to corbettreport.com/datadvd.